Hey going, Steve Barker from Raw Leadership, wanting to come and share with you another insight around leadership and how we can enhance our relationships and the team members and our retention rates and our bottom line all through effective leadership. So today what I want to focus on is creating a no blame culture. Now, I've been in many different leadership teams. I've been in many different workplaces. I've worked with lots of clients. And one of the things that keeps cropping up for me is the workplace culture. The workplace culture in many places is one of blame, it's one of toxic gossip, it's one of trying to get one over on each other and trying to score points. What I help my clients to achieve is to help them to create a no blame culture. Now, the principle behind this is that we don't have any blame. And the way that we do this is by bringing less judgment and more curiosity. We want more curiosity in the workplace. We want people to start wondering why people are doing what they're doing, why people are saying things that they are saying. Because ultimately, let me first ask you this question. How many people have you ever worked with that you know have deliberately come in to sabotage the business, to sabotage their job, to sabotage their role or their responsibility? How many people? I know I'm 55 years old. I started work at 16, so in like 40 years, I probably know two people. Two people who've deliberately come in to screw things up. Now, that is a very low percentage, which means the other 99.9999% of people that I've worked with are trying to do the best that they can with what they have at that very time. So this is one of the elemental principles of a no-blame culture. When we start to recognize that people are just trying to do the best that they can with what they've got at that moment in time, then we can bring more curiosity and we can start to say to ourselves, okay, what are they missing? Maybe there's a little bit of complacency come in there. Maybe there's some emotional stuff going on. What's happening? Rather than jumping straight into the blame game and going, why did you do that? That's not acceptable. That's not the standard that we hold here. So when we start to look at it, we could say to ourselves, right, maybe that's what's going on here. So if we bring more curiosity rather than more judgment, then what we start to see is that we can be curious and help people move through those struggles, go through those difficult times. The other thing is the standard. Now, I've talked about this in other videos. I've talked about values, I've talked about the standard. But as a leader, we've got to be able to uphold those standards. People need to feel safe, and this is what having very clear values within the team actually establishes. Now, I was only working with a client just the other day, and we started to talk about their values within their team, within their business. And I asked them if they could show me their values. They couldn't remember them, which is normal. So they jumped on their computer and they printed them off and they gave them to me. 15 different company values, all with a huge explanation afterwards. And I said, no wonder you can't remember them, because you've got so many of them and they're so in detail. I said, what you need is a maximum of four core values that all stand alone. Because ultimately a core value, if you think of what you think a value is within yourself, it's something that you hold to high regard. It's a standard that you hold yourself to. Now, if that value is breached, you will turn your nose up at it. You will do something about it. You might speak out about it. And it's the same within a business, within a team. So this is why values and standards are very clearly linked, because that way when we get the team to buy in on the values, and I've done a post around values, and if you want to know more about values, you can hit me up. But if we're very clear on our values, then people can start to make decisions. They get the autonomy. They can start to go, okay, this is why I made the decision. And this is again where we start to bring the curiosity, because when people don't achieve the standard, we can then come back to the values, to the standard, and say, help me understand what was going on in your thought process here. Help me understand how you came to this decision. Again, more curiosity, less judgment. The more that we do this, the more then that people start to use this principle when they are interacting with each other as well. Because people will do what people see. Now, from a leadership perspective, what this means is that people will do what they see you do. And this is why I say over and over again, everything rises and falls on your leadership, because you're setting the example. So if you are jumping in and you're blaming people and you're berating them and you're chewing them out because they've done something wrong, what do you think the rest of your team is going to think is the acceptable approach to that? And this is where we get into that scoring of points, gossip, tittle-tattle, the toxic behaviors that we see when we have a blame-based culture within a team. So from the no-blame culture, it has to be led from the leadership, which is you. So be aware of how you actually go about correcting things when they go wrong within the team. And I understand, I totally get it. Leadership is hard work, it's exhausting, because things are always going wrong. But if we come back to the first principle that I spoke about, which was the principle of let's look at this through the lens of people are trying to do the very best that they can with what they have at that moment in time. And then explore from there what led them to get to this outcome rather than this outcome. Rather than just jumping in feet first and giving them a one-way rip-snorting, bollocking conversation, because that just puts people on their back foot, it gets their hackles up, and they start to close down, they start to shut down. And again, this is another principle that I talk about all the time, is leadership is there to create a safe space for us all to be able to do whatever we need to do, the great stuff that we do. When people feel safe, they're very much more productive. But if we are creating a blame culture rather than a no blame culture through our leadership and how we are leading people and what people are seeing, then we start to see people shutting down. So these are just some of the principles that I help my clients to use to be able to create their no blame workplace cultures. And when they see that these principles work, what they also see is that retention is enhanced, that productivity is enhanced, the bottom line in the business is enhanced, their team members are much more happy, so they go home more happy, and that ripples out into the team members' families' lives. It also ripples out further into the community. It also ripples out through the interactions that they have with your clients and your suppliers. So it becomes a win-win situation, because ultimately it makes our lives as leaders even easier. So look, I hope this is useful. I hope that this has been an insight worth listening to. I'd like to keep these videos short and sweet and to the point. So if you do want to talk about this even more, or you want to discover more about what it is that I do, visit my website, stevebarker.com.au. Go and look at my Raw Leadership Facebook group. There's loads of materials there that are also free. But if you are interested in doing some work with me, I do have some slots available for new clients. So if you are interested, please hit me up. Just message me through whichever platform you've seen this on, or give me a call. All of my details are on my website, stevebarker.com.au. But for now, I will wish you a very good remainder of the week, and I will speak to you again very, very soon with another insight, hint, tip, hack about how you can enhance your leadership. Until then, take care. Toodaloo.